Okay, and you can see that this outliner allows us to at least show where this part is in the entire scheme of this whole robot. And just because of the complexity of moving parts around, these different structures have to be buried down inside of these outliner chains. And I'm going to remove this. All right, so one thing that we can say is that this is the long axis that the arm rotates around. And so this is the long axis. And you can see that when this swing arm is moving in this direction, that the swing arm with respect to the long axis of the rotation concept, the swing arm is moving back and forth like this. But because it's a circular rotational motion, the swing arm is also moving back and forth like this. So the swing arm is getting closer to this and further away from it, and the swing arm is moving from side to side. And that's just a feature of the motion when the motion is a pivot around a single point, so that this is describing a circle. We'll now back out and go down into the portions of the arm that rotate. When the arm is rotating, you can see that we have this green upper arm structural element, and this green upper arm structural element is connected to the upper arm and rotates it, and the parts that connect this green structural element to this shaft are these two connection blocks, and these two connection blocks rotate around this shaft. And the way that the swing arm rotates the upper arm is that the swing arm, so here's the upper arm, here's this connecting block, here is this linkage, and this linkage is attached to this upper arm, so that it is the movement of this linkage that pulls this connecting block around, and when it pulls on this connecting block, it makes it turn. And again, you can see I have selected all of the parts related to rotation of the arm, and those parts are the hand and the forearm and the structural support element, and also these connecting blocks that are surrounding this shaft. And if we go down into the rotation center of this structure, which is the end of this shaft here, and put our little rotation controller on that shaft, because that's where we want it to rotate. And this is just how SketchUp works. It lets you get way down inside of something and pick what you want to pick, and then you can come back out again. And you can see that the linkage parts are connected to this. That's just the way I drew it. And so when you choose to do the rotation, you can see that the arm is rotating, the support blocks are rotating, the green structural member is rotating, the elbow and the forearm are rotating, and you can see that the the reason why the arm is rotating is because this linkage is either pulling the arm to rotate it this way or pushing the arm to rotate it that way. So the point to be made on this is that the linkage has to be able to exert a force on the arm both when it's pushed and when it's pulled. And the linkage has to be able to respond to the fact that one end of the linkage is moving back and forth and along the line of the cylinder and against the line of the cylinder. That's this end of the linkage. And the other end of the linkage is rotating around the shaft. And so if it rotates around the shaft, this end of the linkage, not only is it moving back and forth, but it's moving up and down. And so that is why you have the complexity of these multiple universal joint connections to allow this linkage to make all these motions, and in addition for this linkage to be able to supply force both when the linkage is being pushed and when the linkage is being pulled.